There's a certain stillness that blankets the world in the earliest hours of morning, long before the rush of daily tasks demands our attention, before the chorus of alarms and the bustle of traffic begin. There is a quiet space that many people never get to encounter. In that pocket of time around 5 in the morning, when darkness slowly cedes its territory to the dawn, something extraordinary can happen if we seize the moment. In that peaceful hour, when night gently transitions into day, we have an opportunity to connect with a source of energy and inspiration far greater than our own. That source, some call it divine, and others label it as spiritual depth or heightened consciousness, can saturate our waking moments with a sense of purpose and clarity that lasts long after sunrise. The simple act of prayer at such an early hour can ignite a powerful awakening within us, forging a bond between our innermost thoughts and the universal wisdom that governs all of life. Prayer at 5 in the morning is not just a routine or a habit. It is a declaration that we are ready to receive guidance, peace, and courage for everything that may come our way. When we rise before dawn to whisper our hopes, express gratitude for blessings, and seek direction for the path ahead, we step into our day differently. We become more centered, more focused, and more aware of the divine threads woven through our existence. This is not an empty ritual, but a life-affirming choice, one that can propel us towards success in all areas of our lives. It might sound challenging, especially if we are used to more sleep or more convenience. Yet the benefits of this single shift in schedule can be transformative. This is the hour to recharge our spirit. This is the hour to open our hearts to possibilities. This is the hour to align ourselves with the vision of the life we long to create. In this introduction, we will explore why this practice can be so compelling, and why it might just be the missing piece that can transform our daily routine from mundane repetition into a purposeful adventure of faith and personal growth. Imagine the entire world resting under the glow of streetlights as you rise from bed. Your eyes might still be heavy with the remnants of sleep, but there is a subtle excitement in the air because you know something sacred awaits. There's a distinct feeling that envelops you when you step into a quiet room or onto a quiet porch at 5 in the morning. The air feels cleaner, the mind feels clearer, and your heart is more open to the gentle whispers of your spirit. When we speak of prayer at this hour, we are referring to a deliberate action, not one rushed by the pressing responsibilities of the day. Rather, we immerse ourselves in a moment of solace. We allow our spirit to settle and wait, open to receiving the calm serenity that only early morning silence can bring. Praying at 5 in the morning is an act of both discipline and devotion. On one hand, it requires the discipline to rise when our bodies might still crave more sleep. This discipline is not an easy feat in a world that never stops bombarding us with entertainment, commitments, and distractions that can keep us awake until the small hours of the night. On the other hand, the devotion aspect acknowledges that there is something worth sacrificing the comfort of extra sleep for, something important enough to get our undivided attention. When we place ourselves in this posture of reverence, we say, "I value this time more than I value the warmth of my bed." It is in that sense of value and reverence that prayer gains an extraordinary power. There is a timelessness to praying before the day fully begins. The ancient traditions of monks who wake in the early hours to sing their chants and offer their devotions reveal a wisdom that has persisted through centuries. In many faiths, dawn is considered a powerful time for spiritual activities. The symbolism is profound as we participate in the universal turning point from darkness to light. We align our hearts and minds with the cycle of renewal that nature itself demonstrates every morning. This daily rebirth of the world can serve as a reminder that we, too, are capable of renewal, of letting go of yesterday's troubles, and of facing the future with renewed vigor. In these quiet hours, the demands of daily life have yet to intrude. The phone is not buzzing with notifications. The calendar is not calling us to the next meeting. The distractions that so often fill our minds with worry, stress, or overthinking are momentarily hushed. As a result, we find it easier to focus, easier to listen for the insights that we might miss once the chaos of the day ensues. Even if the rest of the world is asleep, we step into a sacred space and declare that we are ready to be filled and guided in ways that can profoundly impact the quality of our lives. Prayer at this hour can take many forms, depending on personal beliefs and traditions. Some might choose silent meditation, tuning into the heartbeat of the universe, feeling gratitude well up from within. Others might prefer more vocal expressions, speaking out their intentions, hopes and longings, or reciting cherished words from scriptures or sacred texts. Some people choose to combine reflective reading with prayer, drawing inspiration from materials that resonate with their beliefs. No matter the form, the essence remains the same. We are making ourselves available to receive divine wisdom and to express our deepest yearnings. In these moments, there is something powerful about acknowledging our vulnerability. We recognize that we are stepping into a brand new day that we cannot fully control. Unexpected circumstances may arise, challenges may test our resolve, but in prayer, we reaffirm our trust that we do not have to face these uncertainties alone. In this sense, early morning prayer becomes a spiritual anchor, a moment of trust and alignment with a power beyond ourselves. It helps us develop a perspective that is not easily shaken by the events that may unfold. This practice also cultivates discipline in other areas of life. When we decide to wake up at 5 in the morning, we indirectly set the tone for how we structure the rest of our day. We become more mindful of our nighttime routines, ensuring that we get enough rest and are not overstimulated by late-night activities. This sense of order flows into our work, our relationships, and our personal development, helping us approach life with better clarity. Over time, the body and mind adapt to this schedule, and we become more attuned to the natural rhythms of day and night. The consistency of a morning prayer ritual can also deepen our sense of purpose. At day we rise. We acknowledge that there is a reason for our being, a mission that extends beyond merely surviving or carrying out tasks mechanically. We remind ourselves of that mission by aligning our hearts with it in prayer. Whether our purpose is centered around serving others, creating art, pursuing personal growth, or any number of meaningful endeavors, we keep it front and center in those quiet moments before the demands of life crowd in. Another transformative aspect of praying at 5 in the morning is the opportunity to practice gratitude. Gratitude shifts our mindset from lack to abundance, from worry to peace, and from stress to acceptance. By naming the things we are thankful for, we train our minds to look for blessings instead of problems. This attitude then bleeds into the rest of our day. We find ourselves more patient with challenges, and more resilient in the face of setbacks. There is a buoyancy that lifts us when we consistently focus on reasons to be thankful. And that uplifting energy often carries us through the trials that might otherwise wear us down. When we rise to pray before the sun, we also give ourselves the gift of reflection. Too often we jump from day to day without pausing to understand the lessons life is offering. We make decisions and take actions based on subconscious patterns and old habits, never stopping to see if we could be doing things differently. Early morning prayer offers a built-in time for reflection. We can revisit the prior day, consider our triumphs and failures, and ask for wisdom on how to grow from each experience. In that reflective space, growth becomes intentional instead of accidental. There is something about the human spirit that flourishes when regularly given moments of quiet reverence. We live in a noisy, fast-paced world, full of countless voices and endless stimuli. We check our devices constantly, fill every spare moment with scrolling or streaming, and often leave no room for stillness. This constant clamor can dull our sensitivity to what truly matters. By committing to prayer at 5 in the morning, we are carving out a sanctuary of silence and making it sacred. It is in this sanctuary that we can truly meet ourselves, understanding our own hopes and dreams more clearly. It is also where we meet the divine presence that strengthens us, reminding us that we are loved, guided, and capable of more than we might believe. Over time, the results of this practice become evident in tangible and intangible ways. Tangibly, we may notice that our energy levels shift, that we are more productive throughout the day, and that our stress levels are easier to manage. It might seem paradoxical that by waking up earlier, we could actually feel more energized. Yet this paradox is common among those who adopt an early morning ritual. The practice of prayer, coupled with the discipline of a consistent schedule, tends to bring a certain mental sharpness that compensates for the extra hour of lost sleep. Furthermore, we may find ourselves making healthier choices, perhaps deciding to go to bed at a decent hour, or to simplify our evenings so that our mornings remain a priority. Intangibly, the shift is even more profound. We may feel a heightened sense of peace, a deeper connection to our spiritual beliefs, and a clearer understanding of our life's direction. The sense of peace often stems from the knowledge that we have aligned ourselves with something greater before any external demands touched our consciousness. We have grounded ourselves in a guiding truth that does not shift with market trends, social media updates, or the approval and disapproval of those around us. As we continue to pray at 5 in the morning, we may discover that we become more patient and compassionate toward others. This is because early morning prayer fosters patience and understanding in our own hearts. We acknowledge our own dependence on divine grace. We see our own vulnerabilities more clearly in the quiet of dawn, and thus we become more forgiving of the vulnerabilities in others. Compassion becomes a natural extension of the spiritual sensitivity that arises from consistent communion with a higher power. There's also a beautiful synergy between prayer and action that evolves when we pray early in the day. Praying at dawn does not mean we hide from our responsibilities or expect all problems to be magically solved for us. Instead, we open ourselves to the wisdom and strength that can guide our actions more effectively. We listen for insights that might direct our steps and shape our goals. Then, as we proceed with our daily tasks, we carry the calm assurance that we are not moving blindly through random events, but rather participating in a divine narrative that unfolds step by step. Many people worry about the practicality of such a routine. They might argue that their work schedule or family obligations make 5 in the morning feel impossible. There is no doubt that each person's life circumstances are unique, and not everyone can adopt this exact practice without some adjustments. The core principle, however, remains. Dedicating the earliest part of our day to prayer or spiritual reflection, whenever we can manage it, often reaps great rewards. Perhaps for some, this means beginning at 6 in the morning, or even a bit earlier or later, depending on personal obligations. The heart of the matter is creating a sacred space at the start of each day, a quiet moment to tune in to the divine presence before the storm of activity and noise sets in. Even those who identify as night owls might discover something liberating about the stillness of early morning prayer. The mind, upon waking, has not yet been clouded by anxieties or obligations, and so it is more receptive. There's a purity in those first waking moments that can be harnessed for spiritual reflection. The body, still somewhat in a state of rest, can allow the spirit to rise to the surface with greater ease. With time, many people who once claimed they could never become morning persons find that the benefits of early prayer outweigh the initial discomfort. This practice also has a communal dimension for those who wish to explore it. While many enjoy the solitude of personal prayer, some might choose to pray with family members or friends who share a similar conviction. A household that practices dawn prayer together can experience a powerful bond, supporting one another's spiritual and personal growth. The unity and sense of shared purpose can strengthen family ties, create memorable experiences, and set a tone of harmony for the rest of the day. Yet there is equal value in praying alone, in that silent, one-on-one connection with the divine. Silence can speak volumes to our souls, offering us a mirror to see ourselves more truthfully. It can also serve as a channel through which guidance and inspiration flow. We might discover that 5 in the morning quickly becomes our favorite time of day, not because it is easy, but because it is profound. When we integrate prayer with other healthy habits, such as a brief period of exercise, a moment of journaling, or a simple mindful walk outside, we create a holistic morning ritual that nourishes body, mind, and spirit. This synergy can transform the entire trajectory of our day, making us more alert, more peaceful, and more purposeful. Prayer provides the spiritual core of this morning ritual, reminding us that life is not merely a series of tasks, but a sacred journey. As we continue to cultivate this habit, we may also notice that the benefits carry over into our relationships. A person who has spent time in intentional prayer is often more patient, kinder, and more compassionate throughout the day. As we continue to cultivate this habit, we may also notice that the benefits carry over into our relationships. A person who has spent time in intentional prayer is often more patient, kinder, and more compassionate throughout the day. This is not a magical guarantee, but a natural outcome of starting the day in a heart-centered space. In prayer, we may become aware of areas where we need to grow, ways in which we can love more deeply, and moments that require our forgiveness and understanding. This self-awareness, planted in the early hours, flowers into meaningful actions as we interact with friends, co-workers, and family members. Over weeks and months of consistent practice, 5 in the morning can become our spiritual appointment, a time we guard and protect because we have tasted its fruits. We realize that while it might be tempting to hit the snooze button, doing so would mean missing out on that priceless connection, that infusion of peace and that clarity of purpose that shapes our day. The spiritual momentum gained in those moments of quiet prayer can carry us through many storms, giving us the resilience to face adversity without succumbing to despair or discouragement. Those who have maintained this routine for years often speak of it as a cornerstone of their lives. They recall the times when they were troubled, uncertain, or afraid, and how simply rising in the darkness to pray shed light on their path. They remember seasons of success and abundance, and how those morning prayers helped them stay grounded and humble, never forgetting the source of their blessings. The practice weaves itself into the narrative of their lives, becoming a steady presence through ever-changing circumstances. In this way, prayer at 5 in the morning becomes an ongoing conversation, a relationship between our finite selves and the infinite love, wisdom, or presence that watches over us. It is a daily check-in, a space in which we can be absolutely honest about our fears and hopes without the pressure to perform for others. We can lay down our masks and let our true thoughts surface. In this sacred dialogue, we often find healing, direction, and a deep sense of belonging. The beauty of this practice is that it does not require perfection. We might miss a day or two, or find ourselves struggling to be consistent. There might be mornings when our prayers feel dry, and we wonder if they matter at all. Even so, the very act of showing up is part of the transformation. There is a grace in continuing to rise, in continuing to present ourselves as we are to a power beyond ourselves, trusting that growth comes not in a single breakthrough, but in the steady accumulation of small, faithful steps. If we keep at it, the evidence becomes undeniable. We will see a shift in our attitude and perspective that lingers throughout the day. Our choices will increasingly align with our highest intentions because we started the day reinforcing those intentions. We will recognize that we are moving with a confidence that does not stem from arrogance, but from the humility of knowing we are guided. Challenges will become less daunting because we have spent time connecting with a source that equips us with a resilience beyond our own. If we examine the lives of many historical figures who achieved greatness, we often find traces of such quiet rituals at the dawn of day. Many leaders, artists, and innovators have spoken of early morning hours as the wellspring of their creativity, strength, and vision. While they might not have all called it prayer in the traditional sense, the principle remains the same. They carved out time to commune with the deepest part of their being, to set an intention for the day, and to nurture their spiritual life. That deliberate choice became the essential pillar supporting their success. It is understandable to feel hesitant about making the leap to 5 in the morning prayer. Our modern culture does not always encourage us to wake before sunrise. Yet taking this step can be a beautiful counterbalance to the frantic pace of the world. It sends a message to our own soul that we will not be carried along blindly by the frenzy of daily life. Instead, we choose to pause, reflect, and align ourselves with our highest purpose, setting a foundation of calm and clarity that can color everything that follows. By recognizing the spiritual, emotional, and mental benefits of starting the day with prayer, we do ourselves a profound service. This is not about following a rule or impressing others with our discipline. It's about placing ourselves in a position to receive guidance, to express gratitude, and to cultivate an inner life that shapes us into our best selves. The quiet darkness before dawn becomes a canvas upon which we paint our hopes and dreams for the day, carrying them forward as the light spreads across the sky. One day, after weeks or months of daily practice, it may strike us how natural it feels to be awake while the rest of the world is silent. The hush of those morning hours no longer feels foreign or difficult. It feels like home. We might wonder how we ever did without it. Our priorities become clearer. Our faith, in whatever form we hold it, becomes an active force in our lives rather than a mere concept. We realize that this simple choice, to pray at 5 in the morning, has quietly reshaped the landscape of our hearts and minds, revealing beauty and possibility where once there was only sleep. When we look at the thread that connects all these reflections, we see that 5 in the morning prayer is far more than an exercise in waking up early. It is a practice that has the power to awaken us on a deeper level, helping us see life through fresh eyes. By choosing to pray at a time when the world still slumbers, we declare that our day will be guided by intentionality, gratitude, and connection to a divine source. We prepare our hearts to face the challenges and triumphs that await us, and we align ourselves with a rhythm that can bring harmony to every facet of our lives. This practice does not guarantee a life free of storms, but it does equip us with spiritual shelter when the winds blow fiercely. In these dawn conversations with our Creator, we nurture faith, hope, and clarity. We steadily build a reservoir of inner peace and strength that sustains us when circumstances turn difficult. This is how, day by day, we become more grounded. This is how we cultivate a sense of joy that is not easily shaken. If you have ever felt the longing to live more intentionally, to anchor yourself in something meaningful before the busyness of the world takes over, then 5 in the morning prayer might be the key you have been seeking. It requires sacrifice, yes, but the fruit it bears is incomparable. Stepping out of bed when it is still dark outside might not always feel easy, yet each time you do, you are rewarded with a sacred stillness that welcomes you into a deeper understanding of who you are and what you are called to be. No matter where we find ourselves on our spiritual journey, the promise of morning prayer is the same. It is an invitation to encounter the divine presence, to grow in love, and to shape our day from a place of wisdom rather than mere routine. It reminds us that each sunrise we witness is a gift, that each day we live carries within it possibilities for growth and transformation. By meeting the dawn with a willing heart and an attentive spirit, we open ourselves to grace that can ripple through our actions, our words, and our relationships. 5 in the morning prayer stands as a testament to our willingness to be purposeful about life. It symbolizes our choice to lead rather than follow the current of hurried living. It places us in a posture of gratitude and reliance on a power beyond ourselves, which can supply us with resilience and insight far greater than what we could muster alone. In a world that moves at a relentless pace, this practice serves as a counterbalance, a reminder that we are human beings first, shaped by the quiet rhythms of the soul before we become cogs in the machinery of modern life. When we consistently embrace the practice, we discover that the transformation is not only felt in the morning, but extends through every hour. We begin to make decisions rooted in the inner peace gained from early prayer. We treat people with greater kindness because we recognize that the grace we receive in the morning is meant to be shared. We navigate obstacles with a steadier heart, knowing we have laid the groundwork for courage and trust. Ultimately, 5 in the morning prayer is a pathway to living with deeper awareness and connection. It is a wake-up call in the most profound sense, not just for our bodies, but for our spirits. It reminds us that we are not alone, that hope lives in each new dawn, and that our lives can be shaped by intentional communion with the divine. When we make this choice, day after day, we journey toward an existence that resonates with meaning, propelled by a faith that stirs us awake, even before the rest of the world has opened its eyes.